Now, to the Netherlands, where the Dutch provincial elections were held last week. And voters took the opportunity to send a message to their green, climate change-obsessed, World Economic Forum-obsessed government of Mark Rutte. After months of fighting against plans to lower nitrogen emissions in the soil by reducing livestock and closing farms, remember, we showed you all those demonstrations, Dutch farmers turned up to vote in the same style as they did during the recent protests. Well, they turned up. Have a look. Now, the Farmers' Party was only formed in 2019, but they are now set to become the biggest party in the parliament. Democracy works against the tyrants, the authoritarian tyrants of the World Economic Forum and elsewhere. Here to give his insights into the massive victory is Webster University Assistant Professor Ralph Schoellhammer. Ralph, always great to see you on the show. This is a great day for Holland and the Netherlands, showing the rest of the world that you can fight against the globalist insanity of the climate agenda. And farmers suffered. They were thrown off their own farms in the madness of some idea of let's reduce nitrogen in the soil, Netherlands being one of the great farming communities in the world. Tell us about it, Ralph.
Well, this was definitely a battle that was won, but the war itself rages on, to put it mildly. It's a good sign. About 20% voted for the Farmer Citizens Movement. The Green Coalition got about 20% as well, but of course they were better known. They existed much longer, as you mentioned at the beginning of the show, right? The BBB was only founded in 2019. So this is really a great success. I think we should not minimize it. But I think we should also keep in mind, which is both true on kind of right and left-wing media, the Dutch farmers are a kind of their own. They are the Silicon Valley of agriculture. So they're not like 19th century yeoman farmers. They are very modern, industrialized. They're in many ways the best that capitalism can offer, right? They're innovative, they are creative, they feed their population in a way their innovations feed the world. And of course, they also get wealthy by it, which they very well deserve, which I think is one of the reasons why, whether it's the World Economic Forum and others, are so hostile towards them, because they show us what ingenuity, what adaptation to very harsh circumstances can actually achieve. And I think that is one of the reasons why they are very, very up on top of the list in this kind of war against everything that makes modern life possible.
James.
Well, I mean, look, you say that it's a war against everything that makes modern life possible. It is a real nihilism. It's a real Marxism. We've spoken about this offline, Ralph. But it's also, this is just one battle in a much wider war. What are the practical implications for this policy? Will the Mark Rutte government still go down this path? Will farms still be destroyed? Will agricultural production still be damaged by these policies, even with these election results?
Well, there are two things to be said. One is the Dutch political system is very consensus-oriented. So there's definitely a chance that the Rutte government cannot simply ram it through, because that would be received very negatively by the Dutch population. At the same time, of course, the BBB, the Farmer Citizen Movement, falls into the same political culture. So they also will have to show some willingness to compromise. However, what I would say is, the Dutch farmers have always shown willingness to compromise. Their main problem was not to reduce emissions per se. Their main problem was the time frame by the government. So if the Dutch Farmer Citizen Movement can give more time, if they can negotiate more time, I think this problem from an environmental perspective, and that's a separate question we have to discuss, could be resolved. Now, the bigger problem is the Dutch have the same problem that we have in the wider West. We have completely disconnected ourselves from all the things necessary for modern civilization. It's not just agriculture, it's energy, it's nuclear, it's all these kind of things that we need. It's an autoimmune disease from which we are suffering that we turn against this. We have created a culture. Think about the Oscars, for example. It's Avatar, it's Lord of the Rings. Like the industrial guys, the ones with machinery are always the bad ones, and the kind of noble savages who live in harmony with nature are always the good ones. And this is the problem we have. We have to start to look at this as the culture what it is. This is also true in Australia. So maybe in the future, I don't know, instead of a drag queen story hour, maybe have coal miners story hour.
Hey, now you're talking.
We're in for
that's a
that.
great
Now
idea.
you're talking.
Have your kids spend a summer on a farm, on an oil rig, and not do an internship with an environmental NGO that's very often nothing more than a grift. So, and I think this is the direction we have to go. This was a one battle in a broader culture war on which we have to build. So it's not just the World Economic Forum. I think the bigger problem is that it's the woke economic forum.
Yes,
And
yes.
one key definition I would argue of wokeness is they have a problem with accessibility to the comforts of a modern life for the masses. They want to keep it
Yep.
for themselves, but they want to close it off for many others.